So I'm recording now, and I will share it, the YouTube link once it's up on YouTube for anybody who wants it. And for the sake of this, we're going to go back to using the chat box for questions. So if you have a question, just chat question, and then I will call on you, and Lorenzo, you can ask your question to Lorenzo, and we will do it old school. So if everybody's ready, we have Lorenzo here, so we can go ahead and get started. Andrew, go ahead and start us off.
Okay, good morning, Lorenzo. I'll start with the obvious question first. What does this honor mean to you? Of everything you've accomplished in your career, what does it mean to now have your name on the side of the press box?
You know what? It's a unbelievable experience, unbelievable this thought process of where you're at today. You know, when you're in that moment and you think about, can something like this happen? You just go through when you're playing the game. You don't think about this ever happening. You're just playing it for the love of the game. And now, you know, I get the phone call, Terry in Fresno State, and saying, hey, look, this is what we want to do. And it's just that oh, wow, that moment where you're just like, everything slows down and you reflect and you're taken away with humility, happiness, and just so grateful. So my feelings are just humility and just so thankful.
Andrew, go ahead.
Lorenzo, was there a moment during your Fresno State career when you realized I'm pretty good at this level?
No, there's a moment where Jim Sweeney, I remember him calling me in his office and he said, you know what? He goes, you have a chance to play on Sundays. And this is, you know, early in my career. He said, you just got to understand what you need to do. It's about working. And you think, wow. And that's that moment you're like, oh my God. Because all through your life, when you're playing Pee Wee and Pop Warner and high school, it's always dreaming. It's for, you know, like you guys think about it, whether you're Brett Musburger, whoever you may be, you know, or whoever it may be, Susie Colbert, you're just in the, you know, practicing your lines, thinking this is what I want to do. TV, God, I'm gonna get my opportunity one day. And you're going over, God, can I make that call? Would I make that play? What would I do different if I was in that situation? And that's what it was for me, a little kid growing up in the small town Lemoore, and, you know, watching the Chargers, and at times wanting to be Chuck Muncie, Dan Fouts, Kellen Winslow, all those guys that I looked up to and watch play. And it becomes, and you're just always thriving, and you're in the backyard, and you're, you know, 5 seconds on the clock to throw the ball, you know, you touchdown, and you do those dance and all that stuff. All those are moments that you never think will happen, but you always wish that they would happen. And I got in college, and then when Sweeney would say, hey, you got a chance, I start to see reality. That each process from Pee Wee to Pop Warner to high school to college, you start to see and hear things around you that you have a chance to be special and have a chance to play on Sundays.
David, do you want to ask that question, or would you like me to ask it for you?
I'll ask it. Hey, Lorenzo, good seeing you again. Your thoughts on whether fullbacks belong in the Hall of Fame and whether you belong in the Hall of Fame, and also want to get your thoughts on your future. What, you know, Coach Kalen DeBoer speaks highly of you as a motivational speaker. Wondering if you ever thought about coaching, and tell us a little bit about where your broadcasting career is, and if you ever want to be a color commentator somewhere.
I'll start with the latter one first. I worked with KPX and you know, did some stuff also in San Francisco. I worked for Channel 95.7 The Game. It's the Bay Area's a sports talk show. So I do that. Also do some TV there as well in the Bay. So I've done some stuff with NFL Network. And you know what? I don't know. I really, if the opportunity presented itself, I would totally do, you know, color commentating. I think it's interesting, fun to stay around the game. So I do enjoy it at times. Coaching is just tough because you see just the world that we live in. And we're in a situation where, you know, as coaches, you're not just a coach, you're a father figure, you're a brother, you're a teacher, you're all of this to these young men and women. So it's really, really tough. And the hours and things that they put in, it's really, really tough as a coach. So I tip my hat to coaches. I tip my hat to anybody who coaches, because I understand the commitment and what you have to do in order to not just be good, but to be great.
And your thoughts about Hall of Fame. Do you think that may be happening for you someday?
You know what? It's interesting because I talked to, LaDainian Tomlinson was one of, LT, not Lawrence Taylor, but LaDainian Tomlinson, who I blocked for in San Diego with the Chargers at the time, now the LA Chargers. He's been pushing for that. And I talked to Moose Johnson, a great fullback, played for the Dallas Cowboys, me, Sam Gash, Larry Centers. The list goes on that guys that I stay close to and we talk to. And yeah, Mike Allstott. I look at the fullback position and I do believe that there should be one. Now we have kickers in the NFL that finally made the Hall of Fame. I do believe the fullback should. And if it's not me, I think if you look, if it's not me, then look at a guy like Mike Allstott, who's one of the best running fullbacks ever to play. Look at a guy like Larry Centers, who caught more passes, caught over 100 receiving passes in a year for the Arizona Cardinals. Look at guys, like Sam Gash and Moose Johnson, who blocked for Emmitt Smith. So I'm not the only one. There's guys out there that can make the same case, but I'm just grateful that people are talking about the fullback position, having that opportunity to get in the Hall of Fame. But one of these guys should be in there. And I'm glad my buddy down here in San Francisco, Cal Juszczyk, who I always say, Juice, come on, baby, keep going, Juice, for us, make us proud. So it's good to see teams are still using a fullback, some teams, but we know it's a dime breed.
Chris?
Hey, Lorenzo, just, coming from Lemoore, I mean, just, did you ever think, you were going to get your jersey retired for, the hometown, college football team? And then also too, what's this tell other people coming from small towns like Lemoore and Hanford, that your jersey is going to be retired on Saturday?
Yeah, my dad always says, son, shoot for the sun. If you miss, you might land on the moon. And I think what life's about, this opportunity this is not necessarily about me. This is about what you're saying. Other individuals that are coming from small communities, whether it's Carpenter, Huron, doesn't matter, Hanford, Lemoore. Greatness is in each and every one of us. Sometimes we let our condition dictate our position. And sometimes we believe because where we're from and what we're doing, that we can't be successful. And because we go around and we allow people to dictate and put you in the box that they feel that you should be in. That's what I love about this great country. If it's about hard work, determination, perseverance, if you have all these attributes and you work at it hard, you can accomplish anything that you want. And those are those things that my dad, my grandparents instilled within me is, look, son, hard work, it pays off. The will to win means nothing without the will to prepare.
Andrew?
Lorenzo, you had a unique situation at Fresno State. You played two sports, which we hadn't seen until Josh Hokett obviously did it. I'm curious, what was that training like for you, and how were both head coaches, especially Jim Sweeney, how were they with you playing both sports at Fresno State?
It was crazy. What was I doing? I was young and stupid, playing both sports. I mean, it was like, honestly, guys, it was one of the toughest, hardest things I ever had to do. Imagine yourself, so you're playing football, which average plays 4 to 6 seconds. Now you go, and wrestling starts in August, September, November. So they're wrestling August, September, October, November, December. And then you come out during the season and the season's halfway over. And you're in football shape, but you're not in wrestling shape. And then you got another man grinding on you, holding you, got his cross facing you and trying to make you quit. And you're just like, okay, call timeout, let me get oxygen. I would always be like, okay, timeout, act like my shoes was untied just to tie it to get a quick break because I was absolutely dying on the mat. But I tell you, I wouldn't take it back for anything because it brought out the character, it brought out a heart, and it made me a better football player. Without a doubt, it made me say, you know what? I'm not going to quit. And that's what wrestling did for me. Jim Sweeney and you talked about had the coaches interact. Jim Sweeney and Dennis DeLito. Remember, we were playing a football game, and believe it or not, DeLito asked Coach Sweeney, "Can I wrestle?" And Sweeney said, "Yeah, let him go. Hey, Lorenzo, you're tough. Get out there. I want you to go wrestle." Till Sweeney, he had this great voice, and he was really good. And him and DeLito, they got along great. So it was tough. Sometimes I wanted Jim to say, "No, he can't wrestle." But he allowed me to. But it was a wonderful experience. I didn't take it back for anything. I got to meet a lot of great guys on the wrestling team, and I got to meet a lot of great guys on the football team. So being able to be on both different sports, being a part of two communities, part of two families, sports families, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Gabe?
Good morning, Lorenzo. Playing
Good
fullback
game.
is such a selfless position. I mean, you're blocking for people behind you. So how have you accepted the spotlight and accepted the fact that you're going to be the star on Saturday?
It's a weird question. You know what? It's still surreal to me. I mean, you think about the hard work that you put in, and you do it, and you don't ask questions. Whether you're lead blocking in a hole and you see you're going against a Brian Urlacher or Ray Lewis or Patrick Willis and Sam Mills and, you know, Von Johnson, some of these great linebackers that I got to play against. And to know that if I did my job, those guys have an opportunity to make a big play, also win a football game. And the bottom line, that's what I knew that my job was. It's about winning. And if I knew I did my job, and if I did it at a high level, and we won, it's not about those individuals won, it's the team won collectively. So this honor that I'm getting, stadium, it's not necessarily about me, because now I know the team won. I know that the community, my mom, my father, who's no longer here or wish would be here, the people that are around me, the coaching staff here at Fresno State, now great head coach, and you know, they welcome me in as family. Pat Hill, all the guys, the Sweeneys, you know, the Zinkin family, you know, the Neal family, all these, my good friends around me, we all win Saturday. We all win because all these people had you know, from Thompson Brisky, who's my football coach at Lemoore High School, and Bob Clement, all these guys that are going to be here and be on the field. We all win. You know, Arthur Hightower coming down from San Diego, LA with LA Chargers, who's in charge of player development. You know, a lot of individuals are winning on Saturday because everyone's been a part. When you take care of a village, it's a village that raised the kid. It's everyone together. So many people that's been there for me. So for me, it's not necessarily, it's not about me. It's about also the fans and people that helped me get to this point. So I'm very grateful.
Any great football stories that you'll reminisce on when you're on the field on Saturday?
Any great football stories about what? About
Just about your playing days here at Fresno State that you might think of when you're on the field. It'll be the first time you're on there since, you know.
Without a doubt. I remember one game that, you know, at Fresno, you got to realize I carried the ball a lot, so got to carry it a lot, and it was we were playing against I think we were playing against Washington, and they were really getting me, and Coach Sweeney, they were running a lot of beer plays, but at the same sense, at halftime, you know, I came in and said, look, Coach, it's not about me. Let's go an eye back. Let me block, because I knew they had an extra linebacker. They brought in, instead of taking out a safety, went with, you know, heavy personnel. So I said, I don't need the ball. Put me at fullback, and let's go to Ron Rivers and Anthony Dago, and, you know, and let those guys run as well, and let me block more, because I ran more at Fresno State. So it was one of those moments that it was like, you know what? I know this ain't about me. If we're going to have a better chance to win, I need to do what I know that I can help this team do, and someone who can run just as well as me, let him do that, and let me take the blunt of the hit. So those were just some moments that I remember where it was like, hey, look, I know that I'm limited at what I'm doing. I know that there's other guys that can help us have a better opportunity. So that was one moment that I remember. I remember catching a pass here in my first game, and the ball, which Mark Barsotti threw the pass, and it just like landed right in my hands. And right when I caught it, the linebacker came and hit me, and I just ran him over the sideline. Willie Robinson, the sideline went crazy. So that was that moment too earlier that I said, you know what? I belong on this level. I belong in college. So that was one of those great moments. I have so many great moments just about the university and people, the Sweeney family. I remember Jim Sweeney comes down, he makes the team, the whole team, pretty much 40, 50 guys come down to Lemoore. My father was a pastor in Lemoore at Lily Valley Church. And Jim Sweeney makes the teams come down. They asked coach to sing something, and Coach Sweeney, and I just got drafted with the Saints, but players were still there. And he sings, "Oh, when the Saints go marching in," he starts to, and he said, "When Lorenzo, when he sends his first paycheck home, or when he sends his first paycheck home." So he's singing this in church, and I'm like, everyone's just laughing. And he was like, just Coach Sweeney, what he meant and how he was as a person to so many of these young men at the time, young kids that we were at the time, was such a leader, such a father figure to so many of us. It's just so many great moments, guys, that I could have. And that I have. I'm fond of just Fresno, and not just Fresno State, but it's pretty much, Fresno State will be here when we're all dead and gone, but it's the people that make up this institution. It's the people that makes up, Fresno State.
Jason? You're muted, Jason.
I guess it would help if I unmuted. I think Gabe.
There you go,
my
Jay.
question.
I'm not a lip reader yet, Jay. I can't do that yet. I mean, master that next.
I think Gabe took my question, but basically, yeah, Lorenzo, I mean, you were a guy who ran the ball a lot at Fresno State. I remember watching you as a kid. How was that adjustment going to the NFL? Now I know after the Saints, you kind of became this blocking back. And I mean, is that where you kind of just said, hey, this is, if I'm going to make money, if I'm going to feed my family, I got to do it as a blocking fullback? And talk about your longevity in the NFL.
Yeah, it's a great question. Because I was, believe it or not, the first 2 weeks, guys, look it up. I was leading NFL rushing. I was tearing the league up, had 74-yard run from scrimmage against Atlanta Falcons, averaged about 8-9 yards a carry. Yeah, your boy was getting it down, getting it in. But no, as I digress, it was a moment that we were playing against Atlanta, and I broke my ankle. And Scott Case, I remember the play running an outside sweep, hit him. I tried to step for him. He rolls up on my ankle and he breaks it. And I remember sitting with Jim Moore, came back the next year, just didn't have the cuts, couldn't cut his mouth. The ankle just was kind of I just knew it. I wasn't the runner that I was. I remember sitting with Jim Moore and he calls me in his office. I was a little depressed and going through some things and dealing with some adversity. And he said, you can play in this league 10, 12 years. And this is my second year in the league. And he said, you just got to buy in. He said, God's blessed you with a unique body. You're strong, you're powerful. He said, you can be a great fullback. You can be a great fullback, powerful, if you commit to this. I remember walking out of that office. This is the head coach, didn't have to tell me that. He set me down in his office, and Jim Moore, guys, playoffs. Jim Moore, you guys know he could be tough. He was a tough coach. I loved him, still do, and talk to him often. And him to tell me that, it resonated with me. And that was that moment that I said, I can't mope. I can't put my head down. It is what it is. And that's when I just said, okay, I'm going to be the best fullback I can be the best blocker I can be. Any opportunity that I get, I'm going to seize that moment. So it was one of those moments that a coach, another head coach, just set me down and gave me the truth, what I could do and what he was expecting from me if I wanted to play in this league for a long time.
Daniel?
Hey, Lorenzo, Coach DeBoer has talked about how you've spoken with the team before, and I think you'll have another opportunity to speak before the game on Saturday. Just what's it mean to you to have that opportunity to connect with the team, with all those players that are following in your footsteps?
I love it because I love talking to these young men, and I love saying, hey, look, if I put a football on the table and if the wind doesn't change and nothing, you put it in here and put it on no one's around. You come back 10, 15, 20 years, that ball is still going to be on the table. If the environment doesn't change, it may be flat, it may be dusty, but it's stay in the same place. What are you doing as a player to protect that football? What are you doing as a person, individual, to protect who you are as an individual? Because one day we're all going to, we all, whether it's our jobs, whatever job, what are you guys doing to protect the jobs? You're researching, doing this stuff, you're making sure you got great interviews. It's a lot of people, individuals that I tell them, it's not about you. This game on Saturday, it's not about individuals. It's not about people. It's about what are you doing to protect that football? Because if you have, wherever the game is, you think you can go out and do whatever you want, wherever that ball is, that's where the action is. It's about the game. So that's what I want. That's what I tell these young men. This game is not about you. Because when I look at the fast forward 20, 30 years, I'm done. Fresno State, all the great memories. Football is still being played. And it's still going to be played after Saturday night. So my biggest thing to these young men is like, look, understand the opportunity. What are you doing to protect this football? Are you in the weight room? Are you lifting? Are you doing the things you need to do? Are you loyal? Are you a team player? That's what it's about. That's what this Saturday night's about. That's what life's about. What are you doing to protect the opportunity that you have in life that we all have?
Vanessa?
Yeah, you kind of touched on it a bit, but what was your initial reaction when Fresno State told you they wanted to retire your number? I mean, where were you? What did you say?
It was when I got the phone call from Terry, he's like, hey, Lo, how you doing? I was like, great, how you doing? Think maybe we'll go to dinner, or maybe grab a cigar, just, 'cause we always talk about, hey, things we can do for the community and just hang out. And he goes, hey, just want you to know, we're gonna retire your jersey. And I'm like, really? And I was just like, what do you say? What do you say when it's something that you can't control? What do you say when someone calls you and they want to bless you or do something for you and you're grateful? So it was that moment, of course you tell your family, you call your mom, you tell people that, God, this is what's going on. And I didn't know the date. We didn't know the date, just wanted me to know this is what they wanted to do. And that night, after I was told that, after I made some calls, you just lay in bed and because it was in the evening, laid there and just thought about life itself. You look at yesterday's, history, tomorrow's a mystery, today's a blessing. And sometimes you got to live in that moment. And that was that moment that I was like, wow, this is happening. I'm grateful, I'm thankful. And you know what? There's a lot of people that are deserving of it. Not just Lorenzo. It's like you're humbled. They could have chose other people, could have chose someone else. And I get that, but it's me. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that there's this great institution, allowing, my jersey, my name to go up in the stadium. And I was just very, very taken back, surreal, and humbled by it.
You've obviously done a lot on the field, but what do you want your legacy to be when people look up and see your number retired? What do you want them to think of when they see Neal?
That's I think that's the most important question. I want people to know that when Lorenzo has been flat on his back. There's things that I've done, not proud of, things that we've said we're not proud of. But sometimes when you're flat on your back and everything's against you, if you can look up, my dad always told me you can get up. I want people to know that I was a fighter. I want people to know that life is going to throw you a curveball, it's going to throw you a fastball, but how are you going to deal with it? What are you going to do when no one else is watching? I want people to understand that it's not life shouldn't be about us. Yes, we have to make a living. Yes, we have to do things, but are we serving? I want people to say, man, that dude served. I want to know that, God, he wanted to feed the homeless when no one's watching. Every time I see a homeless, I'm a believer. Even though I'm a believer, I don't necessarily follow all the rules. I'm still a sinner saved by grace. But when I see a homeless person that I roll down my window, I'm gonna give them $1, give them $2, feed someone, because of the fact that I know that if you don't do those things, if you're not doing that, where's our compassion? We all have great lives. We all can do what we do, but at the end of the day, it's about serving others too. It's about serving. It's about, hey, look, making yourself uncomfortable. It's about taking your kids when all of you get older and you guys start having family. It's about taking your kids down to the Palvarelli house. It's about taking your kids out to outside of their circumstance, outside of the comfortable environment, to say, no, I want you to see what it's like, and not to put them in that situation, but it's to let them understand compassion. Let them understand that, man, just because we're blessed and we all have opportunities, what are we doing to share our gifts? That's what I want. I want people to know that, that Lorenzo wanted to help. He wanted to go and talk to the, boys and girls and give them life, and also tell them about adversity. Not be the person that's going to go and sit around and say, hey, look, oh, I'm perfect. It's no. Talk about, hey, look, there's some things that I'm not proud of. There's some things that I could have quit. There's some things that in your past that you look at and you say, man, don't let your position sometimes dictate the position that you have in the future. Because some of us, we can quit. We can hold our head down and say, woe is me, or you can get up and answer the bell. That's what I want people to know. I want people to know, I want to remember, like, this guy still continued to fight his whole life. That's what I want to be remembered as.
Andrew?
I feel like this is a good way to end it, Lorenzo. You kind of touched on it a little bit about it being you and not necessarily somebody else. When we talked to Kevin Sweeney a couple of years ago, we asked him who would he like to see as the next person to have their jersey retired. So now that your jersey is going to be retired, who would you like to see go next on that press box?
Man, that's a great question. I look at so many Fresno State greats. You look at guys that I played with just in my era. Think about our backfield. Ron Rivers went to the pros. Anthony Dago went to the pros. Myself, Aaron Craver. It was an awesome backfield But you look at a guy, to me, that show you, well, of course he's going to get his, and Devontae Adams that's a foregone conclusion. But look no further than Stephen. Look at Neal, what he did for England, what he did also in college. I mean, forget the name of the offensive line. CTA sometimes kicks in. Who's our offensive line I'm thinking about that played in the pros, played here at Fresno State?
Logan Mankins.
I love you. Thanks. Logan's a, what he did, just a grinder to have. And this is also, it's I know it's your college jersey, but you got to look at too what these guys were able to do in the longevity, how they played the game. He was great. Ron Rivers, great. You look at a guy like Marquez Pope, what he, defense, it was, there's some guys. So I don't, you put me in a tough spot right now. So I just, I don't want to leave anyone out, but there is definitely, without a doubt, plenty of guys that should have their name retired. Those are just a few.
All right, Lorenzo, last question from Eddie.
Hey, Lo, we're also celebrating 100 years of Fresno State athletics this year, 100 years of Bulldog football as well. What do you think Fresno State sports mean to the Valley?
I think it means so much. Sports itself. Think about Fresno State, the Big V. You look at how many people just from Fresno that have made it, not just in the pros, but just in life. I think Fresno State athletics, so many young women, men left to be entrepreneurs that are, you look at Maureen Brady, talk to her, bi-weekly, and you look at her daughter, went to UCLA, great softball player. Look at so many different kids, Johnny Johnson's son's playing in the league. Look around Fresno State. You think of so many of these men that played with me, played before me, played after me. Look at just their legacy. This university has been a melting pot. It has helped so many people of color, people, doesn't matter, race, color, creed. That's all you need about sports. With sports, doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your background is. It's just about how do you get along, how do you coexist. That's what I think sports has been the basic foundation for this country. Think about when you integrated sports, what did it do for the country? Blacks, whites, everyone coming together. That's what I think sports, 100 years at Fresno State, sports, athletic, what does it mean? It means unity. It means united. It means unity. And that's what it means. And I just think that this university is awesome. And the leaders in the community that it's created, men, women, is unbelievable.
All right. Thank you, Lorenzo.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks. Congratulations.
Thanks. You guys are the best.